Newcastle from 5 o'clock. Then Super Sunday, Leeds taking on Brentford, Arsenal up against Manchester United in that second game, and also, as I was saying, City playing at Wolves. That is a 2 o'clock kickoff as well on Sunday. Fulham Spurs is our Monday night football game for you. And based on the critically acclaimed video game The Last of Us, takes place 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. The first episode of The Last of Us is available right now on Sky Atlantic. Micah's mood's transformed as well. We'll get his thoughts along with Izzy and Jamie in just a moment. All the reaction from here. Second half from the champions Manchester City to blow Spurs away, a Spurs team who led 2-0 here at the Etihad at half-time. But Spurs didn't manage a shot on target in the second half. Overall, it was City domination, twice as many shots on target, a way bigger expected goals figure, 2.45 to 0.84. Dominated possession and passes in the final third, as you would expect in a game between Manchester City and Spurs. But we didn't expect to see what we did at half-time, and then that reaction from Manchester City. Where did it come from, Micah?
I just think, you know, we're all saying at half-time we need to change something, get Kevin De Bruyne on. It wasn't needed, and I think that's the great thing about Pep. He knows what he wants, he sticks to his principles, and in the second half, they upped the tempo, the urgency was a lot better, the pressing was a lot higher. Rico Lewis was more advanced instead of just staying in that midfield role, and it just gave him the belief, that first goal gave him the belief to go on and do it.
And what does that give you, Izzy, when you're in a team that has been 2-0 down at half-time? You've probably got the manager's words stinging and ringing in your ears as you come out for the second half, but to produce a performance like that?
Well, as Micah said, I think that tactically nothing changed at half-time, other than it was just pure hunger and desire from City. They were pressing higher, they were more aggressive, they're going in for every duel, and I think they lacked that a little bit in the first half. They were a bit soft. Tottenham were winning everything, and I felt like that response from City, it wasn't anything tactical, it was just pure belief, desire, and a bit more oomph from them. And
are some wins bigger than other wins?
I think that's massive. I think Man City now have got that thing that Manchester United had when I was a player, when we were competing against them and you'd hear they were 2-0 down, but you didn't believe they'd get beat. And I think Man City have got that right now. I think since May, they've gone behind 5 times in the Premier League, 2-0 down, I would say. And they haven't lost one. They've won 3 and drew 2. So there's something special about them. We know that as a team. They're a great team. But that sort of fight, that will to win, that going to the end, where you never know that they're beaten, that is a real special quality to have, and that's a massive problem, certainly for Arsenal this season. It's been a big problem for Liverpool in the last few years, but I think that result tonight for Arsenal will be a real blow.
Gary Neville called it a pivotal half of football. Micah, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're only at the halfway stage. Yeah, we don't want to get too.
Didn't sound like it, innit?
No, we don't, because Arsenal are playing brilliant football.
But there was a story, there was a narrative building about Manchester City that they were losing their way when Arsenal weren't, and had they not won here, that gap was only going to grow.
I think we said before the game, then it's a massive game. Man City needed to win tonight. They showed the character. Tactically, they got it right. Too laboured in the first half, managed to step it up in the second half, and you could tell the urgency was there in the second half. It wasn't in the first half. You could just see that the pressure was starting to build. You know, the fans booing at half-time, they weren't happy with what they'd seen, and they got a reaction, and that's the best way to respond.
They got a reaction from players who were part of that first half performance as well, and here are 2 of them, Jack Grealish and Riyad Mahrez, with Patrick Davison.
Guys, well played, Jack. Incredible comeback, but let me take you back to the City dressing room at half-time. How much trouble did you think you were in?
Yeah, a lot. I thought we actually done all right in the first half. You know, probably had the better chances, and then it was a bit like last week, really. You know, we conceded a goal, and then I don't know what, we took like a stupid free kick or something, and then we scored another one. So yeah, it weren't obviously, you know, the best dressing room at half time. It was silent for a little while at the start, but you know, the manager spoke to us, you know, give us some encouragement, and I thought we were brilliant in the second half.
So Riyad, when you're in that dressing room and, like as Jack says, it's silent, is your mind racing? Are you thinking about the league table? Are you thinking about Arsenal, or is it just focusing on the job in hand in the second 45?
Oh, you think about everything, really. Everything go through your head, but I think, like Jack said, I think we played good in the first half. We had the ball. They didn't have anything apart from the 2 goals we conceded. So when we come back, we was a bit frustrated at half time. When the manager spoke to us, and then we knew, and we've done it before, that we can come back from 2 or 1 or 2 goals behind, and that's what we did. I think we played so good second half. We showed what we are, and a bit of luck as well, but we provoked the luck and we deserve the win.
Jack, I saw you smiling when I asked Riyad if his mind was racing. Was yours?
No, well, no, not really. You know, you're not really thinking about. Well, I weren't thinking about, you know, the table or anything that you mentioned. Just thinking about, you know, the game. Since I've been here, you know, we've lost, I think, both games against Spurs. So,
Why do you think that is? What makes them a particularly difficult opponent for you?
yeah, God knows, you know, they sit in, you know, they've got good, obviously Harry likes to drop deep, you know, and then they have good runners in behind and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not too sure. And I thought that was the case, you know, at half-time in the dressing room. But, you know, in the second half, I thought just the way we started and the tempo, you know, and the early goals to help. And Riyad was on fire, so it helped us.
You were on fire, Riyad.
Oh, we try to.
Yeah,
It's so lucky, you know. No, we try to, yeah, like he said, we start very good the second half, and we scored 2 goals early as well. So it put us in a great position to keep going and to push them. And I think, like I said, we deserve to win, and it's very good. We have to keep going.
Were you thinking, right, I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to get a grip on this, because the run for the first one, header back assist for the second one, then a couple of goals?
I'm going to be the guy, but I was trying, like everyone, I think even Jack, who tried to be more direct, more aggressive with the ball, and we start having chances, and then we scored. That's football, you know. And I think second half we was top, and we scored 4 goals, so it was a good night.
Be more direct. Was that the message from the manager?
No, we were actually speaking about it before the game, you know, but it's difficult, man, against Tottenham, because obviously they have 5 at the back, and then the 2 wingers, Kulusevski and Son, you know, also help out. So you have like the wing back, you have the right centre half, and then you have the right winger as well. So they like to double up, you know, and they sat in a low block at times. So for wingers, it was difficult. But yeah, in the second half, you know, once we got the goals, I think we were playing with confidence, and you know, I think in the end we deserve the win.
Very last one. I'm going to take you again back to the first half. My highlight of your game, that tackle on Son, racing back.
Oh, tackle. Wow, I was scared. I thought he was gonna foul him. He was the last defender.
You know the one I'm talking about, don't you?
I know what you're talking about, but it's never a good sign when that's the highlight of a winger's match.
I didn't realise I was insulting you. Sorry, Jack.
I'm trying to think now, did I take anyone on or something?
It was a bad game, but I just thought it's not something we always see or associate with you, is all I was going to say.
Obviously, we've got to do it, haven't we? And I think... And then at the time, you know, I thought they had a break, and you know, Son's so good at this breaking away.
Not today.
Yeah, no, I put a tackle in, and to be fair, I think anything could have happened, but luckily, you know, on the ball.
Right, on that note, do you want to hand the Man of the Match award over to Riyad Mahrez? Well played, Riyad. Sorry, mate.
Horrible that.
They are great mates, those two. Riyad Mahrez was the inspiration, but Jack gets the final word for his challenge. But just, I don't know, there's something about tonight, Jamie, that this league continues to find new ways to surprise us, just when we think we've seen everything.
Yeah, I mean, when you say surprises, we've just seen it so often, and I think it's just the Premier League at its best. You know, we talk about the money that comes into the Premier League, but this is why people all over the world want to watch the Premier League. I mean, 2 goals just on half-time. Before you know it, it's 2-2. City go and win 4-2. So, I mean, a brilliant game, and this is why I go back to it. I hope it doesn't rear its ugly head, but I think it will in the future. The Super League. This is why some of the top teams in European football want to almost join the Premier League in some ways and create a Super League because of games like this. And this is why people around the world cannot get enough of the Premier League.
Well, we certainly felt like that tonight when it was 0-0 after, 42 minutes, and then Spurs 2-0 up at half-time. Take us back to the first goal, Izzy, which it seemed like Manchester City were pretty much in control of the situation.
Yeah, it kind of came from nowhere. Neither side looked like they were going to score, but we spoke about it at half-time. This is a mistake from Edison. I don't think he means to pass the ball into Rodri here. I think he changes his mind when he looks at John Stones. If you watch John Stones, bottom right of this picture, his body shape is not ready to receive the ball. Ederson's glanced and seen his back, and then he's just played it into Rodri, wrong side of him, like Kara said. And it's an easy finish from Kulusevski.
So he's playing it to the right here, he thinks.
Yeah, Rodri's checked his shoulder, and if he is going to receive it, he needs to have it on the right, and he needs to play where he's facing. But it's poor for Maddison, it is, and yeah, it gives Spurs the upper hand, and then they went and got a second.
What about the second, which just left City, left this stadium shell-shocked?
Yeah, I think it was all shell-shocked. I think, you know, City are going to get the numbers forward, but I just thought this was very naive. For Bentancur to be able to get the ball in the middle of the pitch, and then City tried to get numbers back, but everything's just a little bit disjointed. Everyone doesn't know what position to run into. Rodri could do a lot better there with the challenge. But from a Spurs point of view, it's a very good goal. If you look at
the advantage here as well from Simon Hooper. There's a foul there on Bentancur.
Yeah, it's a brilliant.
Lays it on.
Yeah, it's a brilliant decision from the referee. But if you just look at Emerson Royals, the desire to get in the box there's so many times you make that run, you never get the ball, but he believed, and it's a great header, and he's in the right position at the right time. And you're just thinking, at this moment here, can Spurs go on and win it? We talk about the Spurs teams in the past not being able to see games out, really, and this was a test for them to show what they was made of, and it just, again, didn't do it.
It's that intangible, isn't it, then? City booed off at half-time, and then you see no substitutions when I think a lot of people here thought there were going to be one at least at that break. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne to inject a bit of class into the team, maybe some urgency from elsewhere. It didn't happen, Jamie. So what was different about Manchester City, certainly in that first 10 minutes of the second half?
I think they just upped the tempo, but all I would say is we criticised Ederson, you know, in the first half, but they still have that confidence, even though they've made us make to play this football, this intricate football that they always play, and this is City at its best. Playing between teams, but it's felt a lot faster. You see the Spurs players actually running back into position. Too often in the first half, Manchester City allowed Spurs to get into that back five. It's not great defending. They don't win any of the challenges. And Alvarez, maybe on that show, and you may feel it's a simple finish. We just highlight him here. He played in that inside right position, but see Spurs players running back into position. Too often in the first half, they were set with the back five and the four in front. But Perisic misses a challenge, Dyer does, the goalkeeper does, and Alvarez is alive for the second ball. And just as we see here, I actually think it's a really good finish, because I think if he almost stopped it there, it's not at a perfect height. There's someone on the line. He just evades the guy on the line. But that basically sums Spurs up in the second half. They lost every challenge there. But Man City, they just upped the tempo. That's all it was.
And just on Alvarez, he told us before the game that he'd had to be patient. This was his first Premier League start since winning the World Cup. Do you think that worked with Alvarez and Haaland as a general point?
Well, I think it did. He picked up that role. He wasn't directly up with Haaland. He sort of dropped off Spurs' back three a little bit and created a little bit of a problem. And I think that Guardiola's team selection is normally based on a feeling, isn't it? He feels... He looks at what he's seen in training, body language, things like that, you know, rapport with other players around them, who's feeling it, who looks in good form. And Alvarez, to me, looks like the type of player who gives 110% every day in training, and he's always ready when he can be counted on. Comparing him a little bit to Gabriel Jesus, who spent the last few years at City, he didn't start every game, but he was patient, and when he played, he performed, and then he's obviously gone on to Arsenal now, and he's in the form of his life when he's, well, before he got injured. But I just see a player in Alvarez who's always a goal threat, and I think that's why I played tonight.
I think it's really interesting how he deals with Alvarez on the back of winning the World Cup. And he didn't just win the World Cup, he actually changed it for Argentina. I know Messi was the star of the show, but Argentina didn't look like Martinez up front in the early games. He came in and completely changed it and did a lot of running. Certainly for Messi as well, a lot of press, a lot of energy. He comes back as a World Cup winner. Pep has to find a role for him. I wouldn't say every week, but how am I going to fit him in to keep him happy? Now tonight, Izzy was right, he didn't play right up front alongside Haaland. He played in the De Bruyne role, which was that sort of inside right in the hole, but he's a different type of player. Eventually, I think he's going to have to play maybe in a wide position as well, like Gabriel Jesus. So Pep Guardiola's not going to play 4-4-2. To get Alvarez in, so he's going to cover for Haaland, he's going to fill in now and again, but he might be able to get away with that till the end of the season. But as I said, eventually he's going to want a real prominent role in this team.
Well, 2 minutes and 10 seconds after them got back into the game, the stadium was up, Micah. Then they got the equaliser. And why was it so important that Haaland got this goal as well?
Yeah, just for his confidence, you know, not scored for a few games. But I just want to look at the role of Mahrez in here. The touch, the go, and the pass. You'll see it again on the next angle here, because Spurs are in a low block. How are you supposed to break this down? It's got to be sharp pass, then the sharp movement, a little head across, and Haaland. This is where he's going to get his goals. You know, in there, he might have not had the greatest game today, but this is where he's most effective. He had 3
sniffs in the first half, hadn't he?
He did, yeah, and he had a couple running in behind. But anything around in that box, he just sniffs it out. He knows exactly where to be. Anticipation's great, and it's a wonderful finish. You know, take nothing away. It just sort of takes the pace off the ball, guides it to the other side.
I had to check this stat over and over. He's now got 22 Premier League goals, already more than any player in a season under Pep Guardiola, and we're at halfway.
Wow.
That's staggering, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
It's a long way to go as well.
Yeah. He's going to get 40, isn't he? I think so.
What's going to stop him getting 40?
Injury, that's the only thing I can see.
I mean, he's going to break. Well, he's breaking the record already for City. I mean, you look at sort of the Premier League records, whether it was going back to Alan Shearer, you go back to sort of Luis Suarez, Mo Salah. I think in terms of games in a season, you think he's going to break that. And just think, before the game, we were all talking about, was he a problem?
I certainly was.
I brought it up.
Yeah, you brought it up. I laid that.
So 2-2. There was a tidal wave of City blue, but a huge moment in this game we should not forget, which actually fell to the feet of Perisic. Did you fancy him here, Jamie?
I did. I just thought it was going to be 3-2. It looked perfect. Kane dropping off, putting one of the wide players in, and you just feel like he can't miss. But young Lewis at the back post, I think he just doesn't know too much about it. Listen, Man City get a huge slice of luck in that. More often than not, you'd accept Perisic to score there. But you know what? That young lad deserved his luck, because what he's doing right now at 18, it's not just playing the position he's playing. His tactical understanding to then go into midfield. He's playing ahead of England's right back. You know, at 18, to be taking the place of a seasoned international, a guy who's won almost every trophy you can win. And I don't think it was a case of rotation tonight. I think Pep wasn't happy with Kyle Walker at Old Trafford. And he said, you know what, this lad's been outstanding every time he's played, and I'm going to put him into a huge game. That Man City had to win tonight. They had to win. And he was absolutely fantastic.
Does he give them more control, is he?
He does. I was just going to say he's more reliable in possession. I think that his close control of the ball is exceptional. He releases the ball at the right time. He's obviously got massive defensive instincts. He's obviously getting a pat on the back from his manager there, because he knows how good he is. But every time I've seen him play this season, Kyle Walker brings more of a dynamic kind of style to his play. Saw that in the FA Cup against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. But I think in general, Pep Guardiola, he wants control of the game. And right now, that young boy, Rico Lewis, is giving him that control, because his game understanding is years beyond.
He's just different, isn't it? Go on, Cara. What was going to say?
No, I was just going to think, actually, you think of when Pep Guardiola came into the club maybe 6-7 years ago, and in the first game you saw what he wanted from his fullback. So it's not something that's grown over time. Straight away in that first game, I remember I'm not sure it was at home, you could see the position of the fullback. So you think how old Rico Lewis was, what would he be there? 12, 13 in the academy.
11 years old.
So what I'm saying is, I'm sure as soon as Pep Guardiola comes in, it's like, this is what we do. And this has actually gone right through the academy of how we sort of want our full-backs to play. So he's actually been getting trained like that since probably 12 years of age. So even though we're lauding him for doing it, he's probably used to doing it week in, week out with the junior sides at Manchester City. So yeah, he looks the perfect fit.
But if you look at the role of the full-back in this Man City system, you'll surely have something to say on this, Micah. In the first few years of Guardiola's reign at City, the full-backs were assisting by overlapping and underlapping. And we don't see that so often now, because the modern fullback in Guardiola's system is Rico Lewis. He's playing a more of a deeper number 6 role, controlling the play in there with Rodri. He's on the same line as Rodri. And that kind of I see a bit of an evolution in the fullback role with what Pep Guardiola's doing, because Kyle Walker assisted against Chelsea in the FA Cup with an overlap, and he's squared it across the 6-yard line and tap in. But that's older Man City. We're now seeing a modern-day fullback in Rico Lewis emerging into that number 6 role, and it's just another facet of Guardiola's.
So now the fullback or the wing-back has not got to be supercharged, physical and powering forward. They've got to be able to play like a top-class central midfield player. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. And I think to add to the points of both of them, I think why they do that is to leave the wide men free, leave them one-on-one. If you look at the game today, so many times Rico Lewis was coming inside, Son was coming all the way with him, allowed John Stones to get on the ball, to come out when they're in possession with the free and play out that way. And then as soon as the Spurs won the ball back, he would run back and get into that position. And I think technically is fantastic. We called it a couple of weeks ago how special he is. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I think the difference between Walker and a Lewis, when Walker first came onto the scene, he was marauding up and down. Remember him at Spurs, he was outstanding, even when he was at Sheffield United all them years ago. So he's learned a different system. Jamie's exactly right. He's been brought up with this new one, and that's why he looks so comfortable.
Just one more on this. It's an interesting tactical point. You can maybe explain for us, Jamie. Why is it that then in this new sort of evolution of a fullback that we're talking about, and we see it perhaps at Arsenal as well, it only happens on one side. So we see it, Zinchenko, Ben White is an entirely different type of fullback, and the same here with Nathan Ake tonight.
Well, when we talk about the evolution of a fullback, we're talking about Man City and Arsenal. We're talking about two teams who've got similar sort of principles. Obviously, Arteta is a pupil of Pep Guardiola. No one else does it. But the reason Pep does it is because he loves wide players so wide, and as midfield players always playing as 2 number 10s, that he'd be left with one central midfield player. So one of the reasons is not just in possession, in terms of, dropping in there and getting on the ball. It's actually to stop the counter-attack. So you'd almost have 5 forwards and 5 behind the ball. And that was a problem for Man City actually on the second Spurs goal, where actually Rodri was just left on his own there at times. So it's actually a defensive tool as well. So it's not just about actually going in there to try and get on the ball. And you talk about one player doing it one side and one the other. But if you look about Man City, and I said this, we were talking about this through the game, how important a build-up is for every team, because almost every team goes short now when the goalkeeper gets it on a goal kick, even if they're pressed. When we were playing, you'd go long if you were pressed. You'd only play out if you had time. Now everyone, no, we're going to play out. It's like a set piece. So what Manchester City did today is John Stones went to right back. It was like a back 3. Nathan Ake went to left back. Kanji was left on his own in the midfield. And then he's in midfield with Rodri. So it's almost like a 3-2-5. If you like. So these systems and how teams play now is fantastic, and a lot of that is down, I would say, to Pep Guardiola. And I do feel, going back to when he first came in at Barcelona, he changed football. He did, and now everyone is following that model. But I do think the fullback position is still almost Pep's, if you like, and Arteta's. I still don't think many other teams do it right now.
Everybody wants to grow up to be Rico Lewis, basically. I think that's what you're saying. That's a conclusion. And Guardiola managed to mastermind this comeback without making a single substitution. And the comeback, I suppose, was complete with the intervention of Riyad Mahrez, Mike. How important was he to that second half blitz?
I just think with so many players, we mentioned De Bruyne, Foden and Grealish, always get the talk, but this turn from Mahrez, his technique is just wonderful. And Maurice should do a lot better at the near post. You'll see it on another angle, just gets a little bit of a nick. But when I talked about that space, leaving the players 1 versus 1, the difficulty with Mahrez, he can go both ways. So when you're trying to defend him, you don't know which way you should be showing him. Hits one on the Reece. I know Jamie's got something to say about it.
Do you think that's a good turn? Or do you think Perisic has just gone flying out and missed the ball?
He tries to read it, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't need to go in that situation.
The reason why he is going out there, though, is because he doesn't want to face him one-on-one.
Do you think?
He doesn't want Mahrez to get that first touch and then go at him. So he's thinking, let me read it and let me stop it.
Speaking of experience there, Mike.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean...
But that's a crucial moment in the game, because a couple of minutes before that, the chance that Perisic had to make it 3-2 to Spurs, he then goes and does that. And I just think that's where Spurs were a little bit naive, a little bit, like I said at half-time, a bit erratic in their defending. And that decision from Perisic, for me, is a really poor decision, because in a 3-4-3, as a wing-back, you don't need to fly out unless you are 100% sure you're going to win the ball. And in that case, he doesn't.
I mean, yeah, you can call it naive. Spurs bottled it. I mean, you go through every single goal there, and the Perisic one, he's enticed a little bit. It's one of those balls where we've all been, you think you can get there. But you know what? You know, if you're not going to get there and get the ball, you get the man. And for how much we've lauded Manchester City for the last 20 minutes, you can go through every one of those goals, and every goal ends up with a Spurs player, at least one missing a challenge, or Perisic misses a challenge. That's it. You go back to the...
Just mistiming rather than bottling.
Well, maybe you're not happy with the word that I've used. What I'm saying is, if I'm a player there, if I'm centre-back, and I've got someone flying out, there's only two things that can happen. You tackle them and win the ball, or you foul them. You don't make no contact with anything. Not at all. Now, maybe you could argue, I'm trying to get there and get there before him and get the counter-attack. You grab his shirt, you pull him down, you do something. You don't do that. But the problem is, it wasn't just a one-off. You go through every goal. There was about 3 or 4 on the first goal. You've got that Perisic challenge they missed there, and obviously Lloris doesn't...
Well, let's have a look at the fourth one as well.
Oh, I forgot it was 4, yeah.
This is Mahrez. I mean, the game's done as a contest here. It felt like, didn't it, in these closing moments? But again, comes from the goalie.
A long lay, wasn't it? Bad touch, but Mahrez still got to anticipate it, and it's a wonderful dink. But Jamie, defending-wise, from Spurs.
Lenglet has come in. He was a player they brought in towards the end of the window. He's not good enough. I know he's played for big teams. He's come from Barcelona, but he's had a really poor time in his first sort of 4 to 5 months. And that's a real problem area for him, I think, that left-sided centre-back. And listen, he's made a mistake. He's come on. He's probably a little bit cold, Mahrez, who was absolutely sensational. Rightly man of the match, and it's a great finish also. But when I look at Tottenham and I think of Conte and how he wants to play, Conte is a defensive manager. You know, so sometimes we criticise them for starting games slow and they go behind. He has been the opposite, because he can never rely on his back 3 or his back 5 or his goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet. I always feel like they're going to concede a goal. Now, he's not going to change his tactics. This is what he does. He relies on a good, strong base, and I'm going to have great attacking players to cause problems on the counter-attack. He's got those great attacking players, but his goalkeeper and defenders are nowhere near good enough for a Conte team to be successful, and that's where they've got major problems.
Very interested here what Antonio Conte has got to say on this one. I think Spurs fans are going to want to stay around to hear it as well. And I'm told it's the same case for Manchester City fans on Pep Guardiola. So the managers are coming your way in just a moment.
What did you say at half-time? Because whatever it was, it worked.
Do you believe in that?
It's a question.
Yeah, you have to prepare better.
People keep telling me that.
Yeah, I cannot deny how happy we are, but we are far away from the team that we were. Not in terms of play, because we play good in the first half, but there are many things in terms of competitiveness and in terms of what we have to do, and many, many things that we are far away. So, Rico Lewis concede 4 fouls. Of course, not yellow cards because it's Rico Lewis, you know, and we don't react. So, we give the first goal, and after the second goal is ridiculous. And we play short, and we play because our manager told me I have to play this, I have to do this, but there's nothing from the stomach, from the guts. And today we're lucky, but if we don't change, sooner or later we're going to drop points.
So what are the things that are missing? Guts, for one, for what you're talking about?
Passion, fire, and desire, and to win, and from the day minute 1, and it's the same with our spectators, our fans. So they are silent 45 minutes.
And then they booed at half-time, some of them?
Yeah, that's good. We play good. They boo because we're losing, but not because we play bad. We play good. We have more chances. Expecting goals from Tottenham is 0, plus 89. So we are better. They boo because we were losing. But maybe it's the same like our team. Maybe we are so comfortable winning 4 Premier League in 5 years. And that's why we, and after we score a goal, they react. Yeah, but that is not the point.
So do you think from players and spectators, maybe 4 titles in 5 years, a lot of success, loads of success, maybe a little bit of fire's gone out of everything?
Definitely. Otherwise, we don't concede the goals that we concede in every single game. We give them. And when I tell score goals, yeah, congratulations, but we give them. And today we were lucky, but the day after we will not be lucky.
So how do you get that back, that fire, the guts you're talking about?
I insist. It's my duty, my job. I want my fans back. I want my fans in here. not my away fans. My away fans is the best. But my fans here, for the doing one, support in every corner and every action and support it. And because we play, we cannot expect. So the Tottenham is one of the toughest opponents I ever faced from Antonio, how they defend, how good they are organized, how good they make a build-up, how they link with Harry Kane, how they Kulusevski song, even Betancourt in the other one. They make an incredible switch of plays in the opposite side. The threat they have in every single moment is incredible. So I could not expect it really here in 4-0 in the 30 minutes. So I don't know that. But sometimes you need the game like we have done. But after we get them.
In some ways, do you think do the players need to give the spectators more? If you're saying the guts isn't there, the fire's not there, maybe that happens. And
we have to do it, but we are. Everyone is like relaxed, you know. So the Premier League don't wait. We have an opponent in Arsenal like is. They have the fire.
Do you think they look like a team that hasn't won the Premier League for a long time, and you look like a team that's won it 4 and 5?
2 decades.
I know.
Without winning the Premier League. And every player knows we'll be in history, like we felt when we won the first Premier League and break all the records and another one back-to-back and 2 times back-to-back. Life in everything, we don't have the fire inside, it's not. And we don't have to ask anything. I just explained the reality that everything is so comfortable. And opponents don't wait. The opponents are there. You tell me, oh, Pep, how bad? No, we're second in the league.
No, yeah.
So we are not 20 points behind.
But you're not happy. It's not. I mean, it's not my questions, is it? You're not happy with your players.
Of course I'm not. I don't recognize my team. My team always had passion, have desire in everyone, and run and everything. And
obviously you've told all this to them as well in the dressing room.
Yeah. To tell you what I said.
Come on, tell us. What we can...
No, absolutely not. Okay.
No? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And with that, he'd had enough. That is powerful stuff from Pep Guardiola. That is a rocket he's sending, not just to his players, it feels, Micah, but to the crowd, to the whole club.
It was scathing, that interview, wasn't it? I mean, we normally see Pep's interviews and they're very sarcastic. Today, he come out and was like, he's almost like he's saying he's had enough of the situation of he's producing something so good, but no one seems to be satisfied. He talked about the level and the standard and the desire of not just the players, but when you start going and talking about the fans and stuff, it's a difficult situation. When the fans boo, it's never acceptable.
He seems to be upset by
it. But it's like he's taken that really personally. But
he understands why as well.
Yeah, of course, because he's a top manager. He's done great things. Like we said, 4 out of the last 5. But I just thought that interview is like he's at the end of his tether. And I've not seen him like that before.
I disagree. I think it was a brilliant interview.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's not a brilliant interview, but I think normally we get sarcasm.
Yeah, of course.
But we didn't get that today.
Yeah, but Pep Guardiola's never normally been in this position that often, where he feels he's got to send, as you said, a rocket to everyone. Not many managers can get away with criticising their own supporters. Jurgen Klopp did it in his early time at Liverpool when a lot of supporters left before the end of a game. He'll be fine. He's not going to lose the supporters. He's a god here to supporters, and he'll know that.
Four titles in 5 seasons helps, as he says, but perhaps that's caused the problem, is he? We always talk about tactics with Pep Guardiola and, tactical innovations. This is about passion and fire. These are the words that he's using.
This is about psychology as well. What he's done in that interview, not only, like you said, he's sent a rocket to his team, but he's done it so subtly that he's sprinkling little digs at Arsenal. because he knows that's what he's doing. He dropped it in his pre-match press conference for this game about the points difference. He keeps dropping little things in that he knows exactly what he's in, and he's in a title race. He knows he's in it, right? And I think that he keeps dropping things, A, to motivate his team, because he's doing that as in interviews post-match, but he's also he's sending a message to the rest of the league to say we know exactly what we're in here, and we're going to put as much pressure as possible on Arsenal, and he knows that he can do that because Arteta's his mate.
He would love to beat them.
Yeah.
It might become that between these two.
I think he knows that if something doesn't change, they're going to lose the league, and he may feel that everybody in this club except him it's no big deal because they've won so much, but he knows what it takes to win that league because he's been there, he's been the main man, and it almost feels like what I've done winning 4 titles in 5 years is almost taken for granted. This is a tough league to win. I think he's getting that message there, and he realises now that I think if City would have lost tonight and Arsenal won Sunday, I think the league was over. And there's no way Manchester City could have got back how they're playing compared to how Arsenal are playing. And I think he knows that. And as he said in the interview, we keep playing like that, we're going to lose more points. And I just think that's a message to everybody around Manchester City. Yeah, there's a long way to go. We can still win the league, but we need to change and change quickly.
So was this the turning point, Michael? I'll ask you again about it being a pivotal half of football. A line in the sand there. He did not make a substitution. And we saw a completely different City in terms of attitude, in terms of aggression and heart.
Yeah, of course. I think the second half, they came out strong. And I think we sometimes we read too much into things. Spurs played well in the first half. Man City had their chances, had their opportunities, but they didn't capitalise. In the second half, they upped the tempo, they upped the urgency, they got an early goal, they got that confidence back, and the quality that they have in the squad, they're always going to score goals. So, I mean, we're halfway through. You know, we talk about people winning the league. It's half. You know,
We've got a race though, haven't we?
We've got a race, and that's what makes it exciting. Jay mentioned it's the best league in the world because of that. But I think we just all need to calm down a little.
Are you talking to Pep Guardiola there?
Well, everyone.
I say don't calm down. It's great fun to watch. And I'm told Antonio Conte as well is pretty spicy tonight. So do hang around and hear what he has to say in just a moment. Well, Spurs were in dreamland here at the Etihad tonight, 2 up at half-time, hoping for the 3 points, but within 8 minutes of the second half, their lead had evaporated, and in the end, City came through 4-2 winners. We've heard from Pep Guardiola. He wasn't terribly happy tonight, but what about Antonio Conte? He's giving his reaction now to Patrick Davison.
Well, Antonio won here last season, so nearly won again. What did you make of the 90 minutes as a whole?
If I have compared to the games of the last season, no? And when we won, I think about the performance, I'm more happy today because we played in the last game last season. I think that Manchester City dominated the game for almost the whole game. And we were really good to score 3 goals, and at the same time don't consider many goals to Manchester City. I think today we played a good game. We played with the personality. We put a lot of pressure to them. You know, against City is always very, very difficult to play. At the same time, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because this is the first time in my career, and my team conceded 4 goals in 1 half. Yeah, and but the explanation that. We have to continue to work and to try to improve this group of players. When I speak and I tell you that we have to try to reduce the gap, and the process has just started. And the process, it means that you have to work, to continue to work, to improve technically, tactically, the experience of our team. It means that we have to try to improve also to manage a situation like today. In the second half we conceded a goal after a few minutes, and then we conceded the second goal after 2 minutes. Usually when happen this type of situation, you have to be calm, and you have to try to find a solution to lose time. And to pass 10 minutes, and then to breathe, and then to restart to play. And instead we concede the second goal quickly, I said to you before the game that in this type of game you have to be also a bit lucky. Today I think that we were unlucky because after the 2-2 we had
Some massive chances,
massive chance to score again and to go up. I think if happened this type of situation, I don't know the reaction of Manchester City. Instead, we considered other 2 goals, and yeah, but we have to continue to repeat, to work, to have patience, and we need time. We need time to try to create something important for this team.
I know you hate to lose, but after a difficult spell, did that performance feel like a step forward from your team, like an improvement from what we've seen in the last few weeks?
Yeah, but in one side I'm really disappointed for this loss, because I hate loss, especially because we considered then 4 goals, and 4 goals usually in the whole game, and has to be difficult to concede 4 goals, but to concede in only 45 minutes, it means that we have to try to improve a lot. Compared last season, I think that we are conceded much more goals than last season. At the same time, I think that with more attention, with more focus, we are good. We are good to have this type of performance, because I think we played the good football. We played with personality. We tried to create problems, and we created problems to Manchester City. But at the same time, this game are important to understand the difference between us and the other top club. And in this moment, I think that we have a lot of difference, but we are ready to continue to work, to improve, and to fight.
So what do the club need to do next, yourself, everyone else involved, to close that gap between Tottenham and the other top clubs?
No, but this is not a question for me, this is a question for the club. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And that's him really repeating a point that he was making in the build-up to this game, that club executives don't really, in this country, get in front of the media and explain the club's bigger general strategy. Why should it be left to him, was his point, I think, in the build-up to this game. But let me ask you, Jamie, are Spurs, obviously not tonight in terms of points, are they getting closer to the other top clubs right now? Are they closing that gap that he talks about?
No, they're not. He did brilliantly last season in terms of closing that gap and getting into the top 4. Now, I think they find themselves in 5th position. I think they're quite fortunate to be in 5th position. I'll tell you why. Is that no one could probably envisage that Chelsea and Liverpool would be so bad this season, really. And you look at the teams who are above them, there's a little bit of a gap between, to the top 4. And to be fair, Tottenham's aim, I would say, as a football club over the sort of the last 10 years is getting in the top 4, maybe not going for the Premier League. The big problem for him this season is, of course, Arsenal. So he finishes above Arsenal last season. Even Manchester United was so poor last season. Now, I know they spent a lot of money in the summer, so did Arsenal, but Tottenham brought a good few players in as well. And I think the gap between Tottenham now and those 2 teams now is a problem for them, considering where they found themselves last season. And his record against the top teams this season, not just his, the teams, is awful. They've played what I would call 7 games against the top 4 now, plus Liverpool and Chelsea. They've lost 6 and drew 1. And the one they drew, they scored in the last minute at Stamford Bridge. So,
and this recent form isn't helping either. And need to draw your attention as well to the goals against column, where they've conceded 2 or more in 9 of the last 10, and they've lost 6 of those games.
But that, for me, that is, we know it's really poor. But for an Antonio Conte team, it's even worse, because his teams are built on being strong defensively. He's a defensive manager. I've said all the years I've been on Sky, there's no right or wrong way to play football. There isn't. But you can't deny football the way it's gone in the last 10 years, maybe down to Pep Guardiola, it's a lot more high risk than it used to be. And not just football. Think of other sports. Look at the England cricket team now. Or even when you watch snooker, no one plays a safety shot. That's the way sport's gone now. It's about being on the front foot. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Now, we've said about a manager I had for years, Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho, Conte. Don't always pass the eye test in terms of watching the teams play, but they can win you a trophy. But they're not winning the trophies at the moment, those type of managers. And that's the big problem for Conte. And Conte brings baggage with him. His negativity in press conferences. It is a big problem for clubs. He's always questioning the hierarchy. Now, Tottenham fans might agree with that, and there might be a fair point in terms of Daniel Levy, how long he's been at the club, he haven't won stuff. But when you get a manager like that, and there is a certain negativity about him and baggage that he brings, he has to win. Because the football's not great. There's negativity in the press, but you could always hang on to the fact that we won. We had that at Liverpool with Rafa Benitez. Chelsea had that with Jose Mourinho, they won. Tottenham aren't winning, but they're not in a position to. They haven't got the players to win yet. And I go back to what I said earlier. For Antonio Conte to win, he's not going to change his tactics. This criticism of Tottenham being negative at the start, he doesn't see that. He sees it that my goalkeeper and defenders are not good enough to keep the opposition out. So they weren't good enough in the second half. They weren't good enough when they start games. When we talk about Arsenal last week, battering Tottenham in the first half, Conte didn't see that. He actually said they did well. He doesn't care about possession of the ball. He thinks, we had 2 or 3 good chances. But my defence and goalkeeper are not good enough. So when he talks about we need to improve, see the board, they need 2 or 3 defenders and a goalkeeper if Conte is going to challenge and if Conte is going to stay.
But he's a proven winner, though, isn't he, in his CV? I believe if he was given the right players to play the tactics that he wants, then he could win something. And I'm not talking about the Premier League. I'm talking about doing well in the Champions League, having a cup run, because the way he sets his teams up are normally difficult to... maybe he has to change something.
Do you think then that there's confusion, Micah, with the strategy, the bigger picture of Spurs? If you're saying he needs those tools to do the job, they've appointed a manager who is... Are you OK, Jamie? Got some water?
He just did a long speech.
He did do a very long speech. They've appointed a manager who's all about the win now, isn't he? That's his mentality. We've heard that from Jamie.
That should always be the mentality.
Does he have the tools to do that?
I don't think he has the tools, no.
But you can work what you've got. Like, granted, they're not necessarily where they want to be.
Okay, no, sorry.
But he's always talking about improve the technical and tactical experience. He's talking about we need to work, we need to fight, we need to get better.
Okay,
the language that he's using.
How many players, Spurs players, would get into Man City's side?
Or
probably exactly. So, you can't really blame the tools because he knew what he was taking on when he got the Spurs. He might have been told he was going to get more money. But no disrespect to this Spurs team, the way they play and the players that they have, it doesn't fit at this moment in time. So he's got to find the right pedigree to get them moving forward. But at the moment, the way they play, I just think he needs some more players. I think if you back him, he's a proven winner.
He is a proven winner, of course. That's why he comes into the job. But those managers have to win because there's nothing else. And that's not a criticism. I love the fact that Conte comes in because we can look at different teams doing different things, 5 at the back, different ideas. But you go back to, people always say, you might win a cup for Spurs, you put up with the football. They got beat by Forest in the cup. Now, I'm not battering Conte. His record is absolutely fantastic where he's been, hence why Tottenham bring him in. But this thing about keep bringing players in, everybody knows Tottenham and Chelsea, they're not Manchester City. So the answer can't always be the transfer market. When you're at a club like that, you have to improve some of the players that you've got as well.
Yeah, but you also need to think ahead as well with regards to recruitment. And you look at, I see it a little bit like Liverpool this season. I think Liverpool expected to get the same out of Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho in that midfield, and they're not doing very well at the moment, right? And I think Conte was a little bit reliant on Son, Kane and Kulusevski to have another season on fire like they did last year. Granted, Kane scored. Son's definitely not been at it. Kulusevski's been out a little bit injured, but when he's played, he's done well. They brought in a player, Richarlison, to push those front 3. He's not played very much.
He's been injured as well.
He's been injured as well, but he's not played much as well when he has been fit.
And
he's had to wait for his opportunity.
Is there an argument then, if they get all this group of players fit and maybe add 1 or 2 in this window, that they could finish in the top 4 still?
I think they need a centre-back. I think they need a centre-back that fits... A centre-back that's a real leader, because I think in Dyer you've got a player who isn't... His best game isn't defending, but he's a ball-playing centre-back, so I can see why he's in that central role of the back three. But I think Christian Romero, for example, I think he's got a mistake in him. And he's a player who plays with his heart on his sleeve. He's quite erratic, he gets stuck in, but I think you need a bit more discipline in that back three to then let the players in front of you go and play. And I think they're lacking, and with the goalkeeper as well, with Lloris.
The goalkeeper for Tottenham right now has been a good goalkeeper for Tottenham. He's now become a liability, and they need to change it. They need a new goalkeeper for next season. When Antonio Conte is talking about taking them further, or maybe getting top 4 or challenging for big honours, they need a new goalkeeper, they need 2 centre-backs, they need a right wing-back, and that's not to come into the squad, that's to play. That's exactly what they need right now, and that's what I go back to. Conte hasn't got the players, he wants to play his way, which is defensive football, which is counter-attacking football. He's got the attacking players, but he hasn't got the defenders to get him clean sheets.
And they've got another big test on Monday Night Football against Fulham, and Jamie can have another go off his long run then. As long as his throat's all right.
We'll see.
It hasn't helped Spurs' cause, of course, that Arsenal are having such a great season, leading the title race still, but with a huge game coming up for them on Sunday.